I'm going to beat your ass after the games and this, that, and the third. And that. For what? Listen to what you just said after a what? Game. Officials deserve your respect. What better way to teach your child how to respect authority than when they're playing a sport? We've already had our glory days. They over. Leave it alone. Let the officials officiate and the kids play. Hey, everybody, I'd like to welcome you again to another magnificent day of Coach Rodo's podcast, Winner Regardless. Well, the high school basketball season is underway. And man, it's already starting to be crazy. You know, so along with coaching, I also was a high school and a low division college referee. Official. I loved it. I had to stop because of my business, but I loved it because it kept me close to the game. And the thing that I loved the most is, as an official, the way that I officiated, it was I would talk to the kids, while they're playing, rather than, you hand checking. I'd be, hey, get your hands off, 'Cause I don't know that player or keep track of him, but that might be like his third foul and a little something like that is his fourth. But if I tell him, he'll stop, get out of the, no, none of these game stoppers like three, man, get out of the lane. You've been in there long enough, rather than calling the 3 seconds, so that garnered and I learned from the best in the state of Michigan. His name is Dave Hart. He always used to tell me, if you can find a way to stop from blowing the whistle, then figure out a way. And most of that time was just talking to a player, just letting them know. So with that being said, the players, they loved our crew whenever we walked in the games, especially big teams, where they get, they'll get an officiating crew where the big men foul out because, these referees they don't know how to really call it a big man game, whereas we'd walk in the gym and, the big boys will see us and they start smiling because they'll say we get to finish tonight, because they knew they weren't going to foul out because we know the game. So again, with that being said, going to these games and listening to all of these people just complain about the officiating. Um, and it's funny because none of these, not understanding that anybody can become an official. All you have to do is just take a test, get you some games to learn how to do it, and eventually, you'll get good enough to do varsity games. But yet, still, none of them do it. But they are great from the bench, and or from the bleachers, should I say? I hear them yelling, you know, travel when it's not a travel. I hear them yelling, what are you looking at? You can't even see it. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you looking at? What is it that you see? They don't understand it. In a sense, they affect the game because when you start complaining, let's just say if you're a parent that's complaining to the referee, and now all of a sudden your child is on the court and hears you complaining to the official, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because that official is on the court. He knows what he's calling, and we have reasons for calling calls and reasons for not calling calls that you, as the common fan, don't know, which is why it behooves you to just shut the hell up and watch the game because you don't know why we not calling that. Maybe because we missed it on the other end, and this is my way of, you know what? This is your get back right here. Or you want to foul. Maybe you didn't see that your kid jumped into the defender, and all the defender did was go straight up to block the shot. Every block shot is not a freaking foul. And it don't matter because half of them mugs can't shoot freaking free throws anyway. So you really don't want us to call a foul and stop the game. Because when it comes down to it, you might lose based on that fact alone. But away from all of that, I digress. As an official that has done, some really great high school high level games. Um, the thing that I don't like is, again, parents officiating from the bench, or even guys that I even hear guys that officiate talk about other officials. Man, you guys have to understand this is a voluntary job. Yeah, they get paid, but they don't get paid shit, or should I say they get paid doo doo, for what they have to put up with. Why do you think that profession is lacking the way that it is? It's because of the way that the parents and the fans are, man. You got parents and fans now because they lose and they blame an official or whatever, beating up officials. There was an official who got killed over a freaking baseball game, a kid's baseball game, man. What are we doing as a society when our kids are playing athletics to where our opinion is the way that it is to affect the game so much that we have to blame someone for our misgivings on the game, that we harm that person who's a voluntary. Yeah, okay, they're getting paid, but to me it's still voluntary because you don't have to be there. They chose to officiate. And you also have that choice, but you'd rather criticize and be a sideline official rather than get in there and understand what it's like, understand the different dynamics of the game, understand the different dynamics of the personalities. As an official, you're dealing with 12 different personalities on the court. We take the coaches out of it because you got 10 players and then you got your two partners. That's 12 personalities you got to deal with. And now I got y'all out here sitting in the bleachers trying to tell me how to do my job when y'all haven't even you don't even know the rules, first of all. You think you know the rules because maybe you played or maybe you watch it on TV, but you don't really know the rules like you think you do. And people's lives are being put in jeopardy because we're riling up the crowd by attacking the officials. We attack them first during the game, and they're only human. Some of them going to say something back, and then you get mad at them for saying something back. Well, you're not supposed to talk to me. You're not supposed to talk. Mark, you're not supposed to say nothing to them. You're supposed to leave them alone. One of the greatest things, and one of the greatest things that I ever did out of basketball, high school basketball game, there's a guy sitting in the front seat. Again, reffing one of these big kid games. He wants us to call it his way. He's yelling and he's screaming the whole time. He's sitting there. The AD asks, y'all want us to kick him out? No, 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 no. Halftime rolls around. We sitting there, we, doing our little halftime thing. So, okay, I come to be the center. We ready to start the third quarter. I get the ball, walk over to where he is because he's sitting right there where we about to hand the ball in. Take off my whistle and I take off my shirt and I hand it to him. And you should have seen the look on his face. And you should have seen the look at the crowd. And he turned beet red. Why? Because I knew I had put him in a position that he didn't want to be in. He just wanted to be there to talk and criticize and critique. But he didn't want the job himself. And guess what? That mug didn't say a word the rest of the damn game. So I just wanted him to understand that, man, I'm out here doing a job for these kids, not for you. I know the rules. Therefore, I know what I'm doing. You are yelling because you want to see something that benefits you because you have a bias. I don't have a bias. We as officials do not have a bias. We don't care who win or lose. We don't have a dog in the fight. It incenses me when I hear people say the official caused us the game. Okay, maybe the official on that one play call may have at that point in time of the game may have caused you the game, such as the Baltimore Ravens. That was a catch. 2 steps in the end zone. That was a catch. But that's not enough to make me go to the officials and, blah, 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 blah. But of course, I'm not getting paid to play that sport either, so I don't know how I would act on that. However, when I hear, and one of my buddies is good for this, man, the officials, man, they da, 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 da. And I always tell him, man, we do not care about high school basketball enough to cheat for another team, you know? And neither do these guys that is out there busting their asses for your children. They don't care who wins or loses. They have a job to do, so they're out there doing this job. We need to cut them some slack. Again, you can go to MSHAA basketball officiating website and become an official. I think as a coach, that was one of the greatest things I did was being an official because I understood. You know, when I coached my kids' teams, they would come out and they, some tight games we'd lose, whatever they say, and I heard them once say, "Man, it was because of the official." Coach, we lost because of the official. And I would shake my hand and say, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I said, "Yeah, but what about that loose ball that was right in front of you that you didn't bend over to grab and they picked that up? What about that rebound, them couple 3 or 4 rebounds that they got on that one putback? What about them missed free throws that we had? Oh, man, what about them 5-second calls?" I always try to put it back on them so that they understood that our mistakes that compiled upon each other took points off of the board was the reason for our losing. Had nothing to do with what the official called and didn't call. Hell, we got away with a whole hell of a lot more than what they called, and that's the thing that people don't understand. As an official, when we officiate your game, you get away with a whole lot more than what we call because the people only watch the ball. They don't watch the illegal screens. They don't watch the guy on the backside pulling on the other guy's shirt so that he can get position. And we not calling it because we tell him, "Hey, let go of his shirt. Hey, y'all knock that out. Let's go. Keep it clean." They don't see that stuff. They're too busy watching the ball, so if something happens on ball, and they might not even know what it is or what it's about, but it didn't go the way that they wanted, the first thing they want to do is yell at the officials. Officials are just like your basketball player that you're watching. They're not perfect. But I tell you what, they do a whole hell of a lot better job of doing that game than your ass would getting out there because they know the rules. They've been doing it for years. And they volunteer to do it. And some of them do it for the love. I mean, I know a lot of my friends that still referee. They do it because they love the game of basketball. Um, we used to play it at a high level, and we can't play it at that high level no more. But doing high school basketball keeps us close to that level. It keeps you acquainted with who's who around here in basketball. And I used to love that part about officiating. And we, as parents and as people, spectators, need to give them that respect. We need to respect the fact that they don't really have to be here. You know how many seasons have been canceled for lack of officiating? Hell, look, just go to Texas Papers. Go to Arizona, go to California, where you got varsity officials. They changing the times on varsity games so they can have officials come from one varsity game and go across town to another school to do another varsity game because they ain't got enough officials to fill those games because out there, them folks tote guns after officials. They go crazy over officiating, so therefore they can't get enough to do it. And why would you want to? Why would you want to put your life in that type of abuse over trying to do something good for kids? Because like I always say, we fuck it up. Excuse my language. I've been doing a lot better on that, but we mess it up. We as grown-ups mess it up. And then what do you see? The first thing you see now too. Now all of a sudden, our coaches, the coaches that we have coaching our kids, now if they don't agree with a ref's call or they think that a ref calls them a game, they're going after the officials, which causes the kid. And I always said, I wish I would see my son go talk back to a ref or go after a ref. I watch AAU games where teams chase the officials out of gyms. And parents is right there with them. I would beat the shit out of my son because that's not how we are. That's not how we act. That's not what sports is about. That's not what treating an authority figure, because that's what an official is. When he's on that court and he's running your game, he's your authority figure because he has the power to keep your ass in the game or to put you out. He has the ultimate power. And we wonder why some of it is subpar because the good ones quit. Or the ones that could be good don't even want to do it because it's not fun anymore. It's become scary. And that ain't cool, man. It's not good for the kids. That's what I care about more than anything. The example that we and it's our people. I'm just gonna put it out there and say it. I ain't never been at a white basketball tournament and seen the coaches get upset at the official and go after him, and then the team follow. But I've been to a few of ours where that's happened. And listening and then hearing some of the parents that condoned it. And it hurts my soul because this is what we're teaching our kids. And that's a loser mentality to me. When you create blame and then you tell them the way that you get over that blame is to do it through violence, man, that's sad, man. And it's not that you're telling it to them, it's the example that you're setting by your actions. You know, if your kid sits there and watch a basketball game and all he hears you or she hears you do is complain to the official about the official, what do you think that does to them? When they're on the court and they don't get and maybe they get bumped and think it's a foul. You ain't gonna call that foul. He or she is pushing me. He or she is bumping me. Or or uh, jumping up and down. She traveled, blah, blah, blah. What do you think that does for the kid when they watch you react to officials while you're watching the game? You know, after all, our kids do emulate us if we're good parents to them because they see us as their beacon of light. They see us as the way that they should be in society. That's the way that they should act. So is that the way that well, that's how my dad acted watching the Pistons play. Mug done broke 3 TVs. And it might not be what you meant to portray, but that is when you have a young child watching these actions, and then when they go to play sport and things don't go their way, we always got to find somebody to blame. Well, my dad always blamed the official, so that's who I'm going to blame. And now we done got to the point again to where our blame has become violent upon those who are just volunteers to try to make the game safer, better, more competitive for our kids to play. We got to stop. We got to do better. You know, these officials deserve that. Officials deserve your respect. What better way to teach your child how to respect authority than when they're playing a sport to respect the ultimate authority to keep them in that game or not in that game? My son got in his high school basketball career, he got 2 texts. And the funny part about it is the dude that gave him both techs is a friend of mine. He an old professional baseball player. His name is Mike Squires. And me and him been playing basketball out at the YMCA for like 20-something years. He knew Devin when Devin was born all the way up to when Devin got to high school playing basketball. And Devin got 2 techs, and he teed him up both times. And I was embarrassed as hell both times. Because, for one, Mike didn't cut him any slack, and I loved that. Everybody else would cut him slack because he's my son, and I'm an official. Mike didn't cut him no slack because Mike needed him to know and to understand, I know your dad, and I know that your dad ain't cool with this shit. So let me go ahead and whistle you up. Whistled him up twice. And I was embarrassed both times because people also in the stands know that's not how Rodney tells Devin to act. And I know his emotions, but the one thing that I used to always try to teach him was use your emotion for motivation on the court. You don't use it to lash out in a negative manner. Turn that negative emotion into a positive emotion. And those 2 times he didn't do that. And I was embarrassed about that. And again, the parents knew it because they knew how I was with him and the things that I told him and how I taught him about being towards officials and coaches and authority figures in general. So I say that as to say that not all of our kids are perfect. Some of them are going to mess up with the way that they talk to officials, with the way that they are to officials. But we as parents can teach them to be better to officials. We as parents can make officials want to come back and start officiating again. If we just shut the hell up, sit back and let the official do the game, let the kids play. We've already had our glory days. They over. Leave it alone. Let the officials officiate and the kids play. Let the officials officiate. Let the kids play. It's over for us. Show them officials some respect. You don't have to like them. You do have to respect them during that time, during that 2-hour time period. So let's do so. Because we are out there to blow whistle. We don't come into the game and I'm going to fuck with this kid right here. Excuse me again. I'm going to mess with this kid right here the whole game. Everything he do, I'm going to whistle him up. We don't come into games thinking that. And you as a parent make it bigger of a deal than even your kid as the player does by singling out the officials. If the coach yells at the official, then you think you should join in. No, you're a spectator. So goddamn spectate. Spectate. Let the coach deal with the official because that's who we talk to. We don't talk. We don't go over to the stands and say, "Oh, okay, what was the deal with that call?" We barely even hearing you. And the problem is the ones that do ignore you, you hurl threats out at them. Now all of a sudden, I'm gonna beat your ass after the games and this, that, and the third and that. For what? Listen to what you just said. After a what? Game. You didn't say after you stole from me. You didn't say after you punch me or nothing like that. You said after a game in which you were a spectator, man, and we can't get no officials no more because of those types of actions. So, in closing, with the season underway and started, parents, let's be spectators. Let's let the kids play and the officials officiate. And let's just enjoy the game, enjoy the beauty of the game. Let's not critique our coaches. Let's just be good spectators, smile, clap, and enjoy the mastery of these children and the work that they put in all summer for this time of year. And let's not ruin it for them. Thanks for listening to another episode of Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless podcast.